Hello, everyone. Derek Floyd here, Beautiful Now Podcast. Welcome to another segment of Chasing the Impossible. Today's segment is going to be about becoming a DJ producer. That's right. There's so many great DJ producers out there, and we kind of trying to figure out what does this terminology really mean, too? Because if you're a DJ or a producer, is it one and the same? And a lot of folks have been trying to ask us that question, so we figured let's try to get you some answers. Now, today's special guest hails all the way from South Africa to bring us his style of EDM, or dance music. And he's been doing it for many years, working along the sides of Paul van Dyk and Armin van Buuren. And he's got a unique style of what he does to trance and to house and techno that he brings a whole new flavor. And as he explains it, it's always about the melody, not just the beat. He wants you to feel the music and take that melody home with you. So if you want to hear more about another great DJ producer, let's welcome my new friend, Protoculture. Protoculture, you there, man?
Hey, man. How you doing? Good to be here.
There he is, chilling in that nice studio, man. What's going on?
Yeah, no, just we're stuck in the studio, obviously, with all the lockdowns and stuff happening. So, yeah, kind of in my element at the moment, just working every day.
And what part of the world do you live, by the way?
I am all the way down in Cape Town, right at the bottom of Africa, in South Africa.
Whoa, South Africa, huh? That's crazy. And I don't get to meet anybody from that part of the world, so it's neat to know that you're all the way there, huh?
Yeah, and it's a beautiful country as well. I often get quite a lot of misconceptions as to what it's like down here. Yeah, often in America, people ask me, like, don't you guys have problems with the elephants? And I'm like, there's no elephants.
Elephants, nice. I don't think there's elephants running through your studio, but hey, you never know.
No,
right?
no, nothing like that.
And are you originally born there?
Yeah, I was born in Cape Town and lived here pretty much my whole life.
Wow. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time to just sit and talk with us and share a little bit of your story, because we really do hear a lot of people asking about what a DJ is now. That term has been so loosely defined, and we want to be able to give them a little bit more information to kind of take them to the next level, and hopefully they can be following your footsteps. You never know. You're training the next generation, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's go ahead and kick it off, man. You've been a DJ/producer for how long, and where'd you get your start?
I've been doing this professionally now for 20 years. I think my first tour out of the country was in 2001 to Glastonbury in the UK. So yeah, I've been doing it for quite a while. But before that, since I was a kid, I've been doing this, playing around with trackers and sequences and stuff since I was about 12. So yeah, it's been a long road for me already.
Wow. And since it's been so long and you've done so much early on, do you feel like it's better over there? Like when you travel, is it better? Like, is your music more received like in Europe than it is US, or is the US more receptive? What have you found so far as where the music has been received?
I think it varies. The dance scene's such a global phenomenon, really. It's kind of everywhere has its own little scene, but it's very widely spread. So it's kind of hard to pin down which place for me has been better. South Africa, I don't play as much as what I do overseas or have in the past. Asia's always been a big market for me. The US as well, Europe, obviously. But I've kind of been all over the place. Brazil, I used to spend a lot of time in Brazil when I was doing kind of more underground music as well. So yeah, I've kind of experienced a little bit of everything around the world.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Just thinking about it then, starting off from the beginning, you started off at 12. That means you were messing around with gadgets and synthesizers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Kind of explain to the people out there, what's the difference between a DJ and a producer? Because they're not the same. It's been kind of murky as of late, but kind of give them a little bit more of what it means.
Especially as of late. When I started off, the production world and the DJ world were very different to what they were now. When I started off DJing, it was all on vinyl. The same goes for the production. We didn't have laptops and computers and stuff to take to shows. Everything was, I worked in a pizza restaurant for a year to buy my first synthesizer.
No way. Pizza restaurant, I love it.
Yeah, you had to invest a lot of money in gear around then. So it's quite different to what it is now. Back then, DJing was about being that guy that had records that nobody else had. So there was a lot more work that went into it. Whereas now it's kind of, everybody can do it. I've taught my 6-year-old how to DJ. So
No
that kind
way.
of line,
I can see him
yeah,
spinning like, yeah.
yeah, but the thing is, where it used to, you used to be able to set yourself aside a lot easier. Nowadays, it's pretty easy for anybody. I mean, DJing, the skill around DJing is not necessarily a major learning curve. But I think that sort of sense of telling a story through music is, and that's it's a little bit more hard to come by, and it's a little more difficult to sort of differentiate yourself from others through that medium these days. So I think what's happened is the idea of being a DJ is pretty much incorporated the whole production side of things as well. You can't kind of do the one without doing the other. Because everybody, through things like Beatport and stuff, everybody's got access to the same music as well, almost instantly. So there's none of this sort of exclusivity. We used to hunt for vinyls in different shops and stuff. There was only limited copies of things. Nowadays, everybody's got the same stuff. But the only way that you really kind of tell yourself apart from somebody else is if you produce stuff that nobody else has. So they've really kind of intersected those two sort of professions, and they've kind of become one of the same now.
Well, then when you're on the DJ stage, so to speak, you're taking an ear of what you hear. Like you just said, you're telling the story, you're taking the journey with the people in the audience. Yeah. That's one type of energy. But then when you're back at home in your studio, like where you are now, and you're producing music, isn't that another type of space or type of energy you have to come out with?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Very different, obviously, like you said, very different energies. But in the dance music scene, it's kind of hard to have one without the other, or one without the other. I know the way the music industry is now. I used to make a fair amount of income from selling tracks, which is not something you can do now with Spotify, or not as readily as you used to be able to do. So you have to have that DJ component to fund, your business essentially. But vice versa, only doing the DJ side of things, somebody's got to be the production. I mean, there are some guys that are, just social media experts and not very good in the studio, but then somebody's handling the production side of the things. So you still have both of these components making up the full package at the end of the day.
Which do you prefer better? Different. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer being the DJ out in the crowd, getting everybody moving? Or do you prefer being behind the scenes, creating music, being a part of the process?
Without a doubt, behind the scenes. I got into this because I love making music. I'm a bit of an uber nerd as well when it comes to studio equipment and gear and stuff. That's my first love.
I noticed that Star Wars thing in the background. I see that Star Wars thing back there. See, I knew you were a nerd when I saw the Star Wars. I'm like, there you go, brother.
Big fan as well. I mean, that's not to say I don't enjoy the performance side of things. It's not something that comes naturally to me, but I think it's become a part of what I do, and I do miss it, especially at the moment with us being locked down all the time. It's been a big change for me, not having that side of the work. But if I had to pick one, I'd pick production every day.
That's cool. That's cool, man. That's cool. So then, is there a specific DJ or producer that maybe influenced you that kind of got you into where you are now? Like, hey, this guy was great. I want to be that, or I want to do that.
Oh man, I often get these questions in interviews and stuff, and it's really hard to pin down one, because I listen to such a wide variety of music, and I've changed my sound so many times over the years as well. So it's kind of hard, different people have influenced different periods of my career.
Sure.
But I started off with, I think some of the biggest influences for me when I started off with guys like Orbital and Crystal Method was a big one for me as well.
Oh, Crystal Method.
Yeah.
I remember that big track. Yeah. Yeah. That was in their big track.
The breakbeat scene. That was where my first sort of love for electronic music started, and then kind of gradually moved through into doing psy-trance stuff, and then guys like Juno Reactor, they were a big influence for me as well. Asterix, we kind of started out around the same time. And then, things progressed for me, and I kind of, when I started DJing when I was 16, I was playing a lot of trance, and I kind of got back into the more euphoric, uplifting trance scene that I started off with later on in my career. And in that scene, there's guys like BT, who I had the pleasure of remixing a track that he did with Armin recently. Love Comes, no, what's it? These Silent Hearts. So he's always been a major influence for me. His production skills are just
he's
next
ridiculous,
level.
dude. He goes beyond, and you go, what? Where did that? He just goes beyond, and he's a great human being, which makes it even better.
Yeah. Actually, I met him a while ago. We were in Goa. Had a really good time at a festival in Goa. I believe it was VH1 festival or something like that. We played that together. Myself and Max Graham were there. We were actually working together at the time as well.
Nice. Well, who would you say did you learn the most from? I mean, and you've met so many people now. Who did you learn the most about what you do and your skill set?
I've worked with a lot of guys in the sense that I've done a lot of remixing and some collaborations and things. But I'm very, partly due to where I live and. Also, me being a bit of a hermit in the studio and a bit of a control freak, it's very rare that I've actually done tracks with somebody in the studio with me. Huh. So a lot of the time it's I'm just working online with stems, etc. So it's hard to kind of pinpoint one specific person that I picked up a lot of tips from studio-wise.
No worries.
But I think, I think a lot of what I've learned has been a sort of culmination of lots of YouTube watching and, self-taught. And I studied audio engineering as well. And
okay, so you've got added skills there.
Yeah, years and years of just tweaking things and whatever. I learned a lot from guys during the phase that I was doing psy-trance stuff. I did quite a bit of stuff in Israel with a bunch of psy-trance producers like Atomic Pulse, and at that stage I was doing a lot of work together with other guys, and that community is quite tight knit. So it's once you're kind of in there, it's a lot of guys that are very good producers that are quite willing to share that information as well.
That's awesome.
From the trance side of things, like I've worked with a lot of guys like Armin. I think from Armin's taught me a hell of a lot as to how the music business works. I mean, he's an incredibly good businessman when it comes to running the music business. I mean, apart from being an incredibly talented DJ and producer as well, but I think my time at Armada was really about learning how the ins and outs of the music business actually function, because it's quite another level to the more underground scene, which I was involved with before that.
Yeah, and that was going to be one of my questions, but you kind of segued into it, so I'll go ahead and ask. A lot of these young people, these young kids out here, they just want to make music, want to be a producer, want to be a DJ, but there's a whole huge business side of this thing that has to be in play, or you're never going to be heard, and you're never going to make any money. And it's true, right? This is what happens. How did you get involved with the business side? Did you have someone teaching you? Did you just trial and error and just get it going?
Well, I'm a terrible businessman. I'll just start off by saying that. Like, that's not my forte at all. Look, I think that there's times that you can just rely on the music, but obviously, having a bit of business sense is a big deal. And for years, I kind of, went through doing more underground stuff where that scene was very much not very business orientated. I mean, the psy-trance scene is kind of blown up a little bit lately, where it's become a lot bigger and a lot more organized. But kind of moving to a company like Armada, where you've got a semi-major label with a lot of people working there, you kind of start to see how everything functions. And yeah, I mean, the business side, one thing that's worth educating yourself on is how the whole system of publishing and royalties and things work. You can get lost very, very quickly not understanding how that stuff works. And I've seen a lot of guys get screwed over because they're just stupid about not protecting their interests. So educating yourself.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's a biggie. It's a biggie.
Yeah, it is, and it's also I've always been one to kind of do stuff myself, and this was another sort of lesson for me. Is sometimes you got to spend money to earn money as well. So paying a good publisher really is if you got a good relationship with a publisher, it's a massive deal for me as well. To be able to take that kind of workload off my plate. Because I'm not, I've spent 20 years garnering my music talents, not learning copyright law.
That's
So,
smart. That's smart. You're
yeah,
outsourcing what you don't need to do. You be the creative person. Let someone else handle that. That's smart.
yeah, exactly. It's taken me a while to kind of figure that one out. But it's really important, once you get to a stage where things are rolling, to kind of let people who are experienced in that kind of thing take that over.
What
Same goes
about
for
social
management.
media now and how much that's kind of just changed the game? I mean, you have to have a social media presence now, or forget it. Where
Well,
are you going to find you, right?
yeah, I mean, that's kind of weirdly a bit of a gray area for me at the moment. I in the last couple of years have look, again, I'm not social media is not my strong point. I know some guys that are fantastically talented when it comes to promoting themselves. My talent lies in music, and I'd like to think that that's what people want to see from me. But I invested a lot of time and effort into social media, quite awkwardly a lot of the time, because it's not something I'm good at doing. And because I always felt that you couldn't do this without having a social media account. And I think I'm kind of having second thoughts about that at the moment. I think what's happened, especially during this lockdown thing, is I didn't have anything to talk about because I haven't been doing anything, and
Yeah.
I was kind of I was kind of concerned as to whether that's going to make much of a difference. I wasn't going to go and fabricate stuff for social media posts, and for me, I haven't seen any real difference between not doing my social media at the moment and doing it.
Wow.
Now, I can't speak for whether that will affect my gigs because I haven't had any this year due to the current circumstances. But from a music point of view, I just kind of resigned myself to the fact that I'm going to trust people to uh, find the music if they like it, and I don't want to promote more than the music. The music's what I'm doing, so I'm kind of taking a step back a little bit from all the other stuff. The one sort of area of social media that I have been focusing a lot on is YouTube, but not specifically to drive the Protoculture brand. I've kind of been overwhelmed with how fake a lot of social media can be, and I don't want to put time into something which is not honest from my point of view. So for me, using the YouTube channel, I've been, doing a lot of tutorials and reviews and things. I don't mind putting effort into that because that comes from a place of honest interest. I am interested in those reviews. I am interested in those tutorials. I'm not interested in showing you guys a photo of me standing next to a beach or whatever. I'll post a picture like that every now and then, but I just don't want to go out of my way and spend valuable time in promoting stuff that's not relevant.
I love it.
And I was worried about that in the beginning, but I honestly haven't really seen a major crash. I mean the singles that I've released this year have done just as well, if not better, than anything I put out when I was doing more social media.
That's awesome.
So
That's awesome. Well,
yeah,
that's
and
great to
I
know.
think it's a good thing. Yeah, I think too much importance has been placed on social media in the past, and I think it's good that there's a sort of sense, especially with this year being the way that it has been. There's a sort of sense of kind of chucking out the unimportant stuff. Um, just people haven't been able to leave the house. The
Sure.
extra clothing or the extra things that you usually spend money on, or all those Instagram photos that you spend so much time setting up. It's just not
Yeah.
it's not all that important anymore. So,
That's so well done. So
so I
well
kind of hope
spoken.
that
So
that
well
filters
spoken.
on.
I love it. I love it. I
Cool.
love it. I love it. Well, then let's ask this question because we're talking to the young kid or the younger kid who said, "I want to make a living as a DJ producer." What? He can't quit his job right now, but this is what he wants to do for a
Yeah.
living. Is there a living to be made this way, and how would he even get started?
Yeah, there is. It's Well, I was not totally different, but it's different. It's still as hard as what it used to be. I mean, it used to be more difficult years ago because you needed more gear and et cetera, et cetera. It's not an easy way to make a living. I'll say that.
How does it
So
become an
you know,
income?
obviously, you got to be incredibly passionate about this. And I mean, like I'm up most nights till 2 in the morning working. So it's not always as glamorous as what people think it is. But you know, that said, if you do have the passion to do it, it has changed a lot. Especially this year, you've seen how revenue from gigs has just kind of fallen away.
Hmm.
So my main advice, well, the sort of biggest lesson I've learned in the last kind of 2 years is you can't really fight things like Spotify and stuff like that. I mean, that's just, you know, as a small time DJ, that's not the fight that you're going to win. So you kind of come up with ways to monetize things in other senses. So I've kind of a lot of skills that I have, I never sort of attached a monetary value to until recently, and I've kind of started monetizing everything. So from doing the YouTube videos to you know, when I finish tracks, I sort of pull out everything, I convert them into samples. I've got sample packs that then get sold. Um, with the COVID lockdown stuff, I've kind of been doing a lot of tuition and stuff. Obviously, that's a bit harder to do as an up and coming DJ, to convert these all into different, you know, streams of income.
But I love that
But
you're
yeah, you
saying
can
you
do
got to
that.
think outside the box. You're not saying, okay, you got to go
Yeah,
out and make one income on one thing. You're going to have to be versatile. You're going to have to monetize a
yeah,
lot of your skill sets in different ways to be able to make a living at this. I love that.
yeah, for sure. I mean, to make a these days, it's definitely you need to be looking at alternative ways to monetize things. You know, when the gigs are going strong, it's great, but it is it's a bit of a fickle business. And also, a lot of kids have this idea that, you know, you're gonna write that hit song and then you made. Um, that happens to 0.01% of the people that get into this business. So really, like I said, my biggest advice is you have to be slightly OCD about this. I mean, you eat, sleep, and breathe this all day long, and then you'll get somewhere with it. But there's no
Hmm.
half measures. You know, it really is like it's a lifestyle that you kind of live.
I love it. It's
Um,
all or nothing. Either
yeah,
you really love it and you're passionate about it, and you do it because you love it, not because you're chasing the money. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Right?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, that said, I mean, there are guys that chase the money that are successful as well. But again, that's 1% of people who get into that have that
Hmm.
talent on social media to push. You know, even if they're not producers, uh, but they have that personality that they can push. Not everybody has that.
Sure. Sure.
So it's not something you can just jump in, and it's not guaranteed. It's definitely one of those lines of work where what you put in, you're going to get out. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, so hard work all the time.
I do want to touch on something you said about Spotify, and because so many of us, a lot of people don't know about the record industry, music industry, how much has changed. You know, labels are just ghost, and it's all about you put an album out now, and you can't go to the record store and buy it. That whole
Yeah,
process is gone. You can't even go to enjoy going out to take a look at CDs. That whole process is just gone. So
yeah,
how
yeah.
does a person, you said, how does a Spotify change how things do it for an artist? Because there's positives and negatives to something like Spotify, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, there are like you said, positives for sure. I mean, working with a label like Armada, that's quite deeply ingrained inside of Spotify, and they know it very well, which is brings me back to find people that can do what they do better than you can. And Armada is incredibly good at pushing out music on Spotify, and in that sense, there's an enormous amount of people that listen to my music that I would have never have reached through my own channels.
That's how I found you. Tell you the truth,
Yeah,
I found you on
yeah, yeah,
Spotify because I was playing ASOT and the State of Trance and all the records that come through there, and one of the tracks from Music is Mathematics came on, and then I ended up buying that record. It was the it wasn't the first trance record, but I think it was the second trance record that I ever bought was yours.
Okay, cool.
It was
Yeah,
in
nice.
it was in my iTunes catalog forever, but then I'm like, oh, I love this artist, so I started to follow you through Spotify. So Spotify has its
Yeah.
advantages because that's how I found you. You know?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, look, you've just got to. I mean, I get annoyed with the amount of money that they pay artists as well, like
Oh,
anybody would. But it's pointless kind of focusing on that all the time. You got to find the positives to things. I'm very much a silver lining kind of guy. And yeah, like I said, a lot of people will find your music through Spotify. I can't rely on Spotify for income. I still started off in a day when I was releasing albums. My first album I ever released on CD, I think, sold 35,000 copies in 2001. And at that time, that was a lot. That was a decent paycheck that you got at the end of the day for
that
an
was pretty good
underground
there,
artist.
brother. That was pretty good for a first
Yeah,
record. Look at you.
I mean, 35,000 is it's nothing compared to like what people, pop artists and stuff, are selling. But back then, that was enough money to live for a year and a bit.
Hmm.
Whereas now, 35,000 sales. I'm not even sure if that'll buy you dinner somewhere at the moment anymore. But yeah, but I mean,
Such a
you've got to
shame.
look at the
Such a
positives.
shame.
I think that the fact that it's free, I would rather be getting that little percentage from Spotify than have it being torrented. And it's free, so just so many people can listen to the stuff. So you just got to turn that into other things. Turn that into shows. Turn that into some justification for people to listen to you as an engineer or as a accomplished producer. And then you can start branching out from using your name to sell your sample CDs or do tutorials or remix other people's music or whatever. So yeah, it's pointless kind of fighting it, but rather to just kind of harness the power of that and turn it into something positive instead.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I want to keep hitting on the fact that you said learn some other skills in there. Like you're an engineer as well. So you've been taking
Yeah,
this and engineering your own records, but then you created your content or your songs and you cut it into stems and then you sold the stems. I mean, you're getting creative with what you do. So it's more than just, hey, I'm gonna create some music, I'm gonna make a bunch of money. It's just not that. So I
yeah,
love that
yeah,
you've branched out and thought it through, and people that are doing this younger now, they have access to so much more than we did. So it's great that they
yeah.
can get to this right away, don't you think?
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I mean, it's I kind of felt bad attaching a price to a lot of things in the beginning, but you kind of look at I have friends that are lawyers, and they bill you for their time, they bill you for emails sent, they bill you for phone calls they have to make to whatever. And a lot of stuff that we as DJs, because we're creatives and we're not businessmen, we don't think of these things, and it's really important to to value your time better,
Well
and
spoken.
also
Well
to
spoken.
yeah, to also just attach a value to things which you take for granted. Like something like me making a kick drum for a track. There's no sense in just using that kick drum in a track and leaving it at that. That kick drum, you can take that out, you can turn that into something else. Sell the preset, put it in a whatever, or give it away for free as a promotional tool. So yeah, I think nowadays you just got to be a lot more aware of all those doors that can be open to you, and take those opportunities when you can.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Last question, man. And again, thank you so much just for sharing your wisdom. And me being a fan, it was kind of neat to finally meet you because I said, oh, I've been playing your music for a long time. And I'm sure you probably get people that still go, man, I love your music. But I really do love your music. And I've played it for years now. So that's been cool to
No,
finally
it
go.
feels great to hear,
I've been
man.
listening. I normally have it on at the gym, or I have it on in the background when I'm working. But it was neat to be able to go, this guy is a real guy who creates real music, and I love that, love that, love that.
Awesome.
So last question, and super easy. You've done just about everything in this field. You've played the big shows, you've worked with the big artists, you've had great records. What's the next evolution for you as Protoculture? Where do you want to go?
Well, I mean, I'm changing up the style quite a bit at the moment, and it's like I said, I'm kind of a silver linings guy. Look, pretty rubbish year as far as gigs are concerned, and being locked down and all this stuff. But what it has done for me is it's kind of removed the pressure of writing a song for a specific crowd. When you're trying to sell tickets to a show, you kind of get stuck in a rut of doing what's popular and what is going to work and what is going to give you bookings. And whereas this year for me, it's just been about writing music that I had to listen to in the studio. There wasn't really anywhere else for it that it was going to be played besides getting released on Spotify eventually. It's been great. I've been kind of taking things in a very different direction, going quite a bit more progressive than what I have in the past, and just experimenting a lot with new sounds. And then I've got an album coming out. Should be out next year. We've got a few singles out now already, so you can check out where the direction's going.
Let me know when those singles are so we can get my guys to check it out. We want people to be checking it out.
Spotify,
the latest, wherever to hear you.
The latest one we did with Diana Miro, Seconds, which is a vocal track.
Nice.
And then I've got another one coming up shortly, which is coincidentally my favorite one on the track, called Lost in Isolation. Also just really chilled out, very down tempo, like 124 BPM, and very different style to what I've been doing before. But I've really been enjoying that. And then as far as the evolution, as far as gigs and stuff are concerned, there's just nothing on the cards for right now. But like I said, this year's been a bit of an equalizer for me, and it's kind of reset a lot of my points of view and a lot of my sort of directions that I've been taking, which is interesting. It's nice to see, and it seems to be working for me at the moment. So it's just going to be kind of heading in that direction for the foreseeable future, and we'll see where things take me.
Well, we are so glad you're still making music, man. And now that I've met you even more and know a little bit about you, when I hear your music, I'll know this is just because he loves to do it. This is the passion that he loves. It's not like he's trying to go out there and sell a bunch of records. But though that's part of what you do it for the passion. You do it because you love it, and you're reaching a different space, and you're creative. And that's to me, that's the best place to be. I'm a creative as well, and when you're in that creative mode and then you finish a track, it's nothing like that. You hear it back and you're like, it's like you birthed a child. It's like, you know what I'm talking about. It's that feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm sure you go, this was a good one.
Back and go, generally, when I find myself out of my chair in the studio dancing around, then I know I've hit on something pretty good.
That's it, man. That's it. Well, man, thanks again for taking a few minutes to talk with the subscribers. We appreciate you. And if they want to get a hold of you or find new music for you, how do they find you?
Best place to do that is I'm on Facebook every now and then. Facebook.
Under what? What's your handle there?
Protoculture Official.
Okay.
Same goes for Instagram, and otherwise, you can also go ahead and check out my website, info@marulamusic.com, or hit us up there as well. You can contact us there. That's the sound design label, and I do a lot of tutorials, and all my other kind of work is all linked to Marula Music at the moment.
Well, I'm looking forward to check out some of the tutorials. I didn't even know you had a YouTube page. I'm gonna be checking it out right now. Yeah. This call.
Yeah, it's not under Protoculture. I decided to kind of keep them slightly separate, just because it's because I'm a bit of a nerd, and not everybody that follows Protoculture is interested in the tech stuff. So, so Marula Music on YouTube as well. You can go and check that out. I do a lot of reviews and sort of walkthroughs and things like that as well. So.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to it. Hey,
cool.
You take care of yourself. You be safe out there. And to everybody else out there, you guys know how I feel about it. Wash those hands. Be careful. Share this with a friend that's maybe in the music business or that wants to be a DJ or producer. Take this segment and hit the share button for me right now. Go ahead and hit it right up. There you go. Hit share. And make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. We want to get you the most updated content as soon as it's available. Take care, guys. Have a great one. We'll see you next time.